And to kick that off, our first speaker is Maria Vasquez Aguirre from the Chile Solidarity Network.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for inviting us, and I think, there we go. It is so important that we have Global South voices here in this debate. As we know, in Egypt, the Global South countries have taken the issue of climate finance to the table. Climate finance for money to adapt technology, climate finance for loss and damage, and rightly so. Because if we look at the CO2 emissions, 96% of them come from global north countries, yet it's the global south countries that are suffering the worst consequences, as we've heard earlier today with Pakistan as an example. But debt is also a very important part of that climate finance debate. The United Nations estimated a couple of weeks ago that over 54 countries are in debt crisis at the moment in the global south. This means that they don't have the money to pay for education, for health, for social protection, because they're repaying debts back to the global north. And why are our countries in debt? Well, part of the problem is the so-called odious debts. These are debts that governments in our countries that we don't even support asked for. These are debts in our countries that lending institutions have forced upon us through their structural adjustment programs. Just to give you one example, 4 years ago, the IMF gave their biggest ever loan out to Argentina to support the right-wing government of Macri. $44 billion went to the Argentina, and most of it has already come out on finances. This is a government that wasn't even elected in eventually by the country. We also have a massive debt due to the colonization and exploitation of our countries by European countries and North America for centuries. If you take India as an example, India, before the colonization of Britain, was one of the richest countries in the world. Now it is one of the poorest. It is estimated that between 1765 and 1938, $45 trillion was drained out by Britain out of India. Another example, in 1999, the African World Reparations and Repatriation Truth Commission estimated that $777 trillion was taken out by colonization of Africa in the slave trade, in the stealing of gold, in the stealing of diamonds and all the other natural resources that was taken from that continent. So I ask you, Sheffield, who owes who? And just to remind you that the British government, and that is us as taxpayers, only finished paying slave traders compensation for the abolition of slavery in 2015. What reparations were paid to the slave descendants and their families and the countries that were stolen from? None. So when we're talking about debt, let's talk about the real debt that's owed by the Global South. Let's support the Global South in not only saying to cancel the debt, but just refuse to pay the debts. As Chavez said, Hugo Chavez, the late Venezuelan president, said in Copenhagen, let's not change the climate, let's change the system. Solidarity to Allah and all the other Egyptian political prisoners. Solidarity with the Global South. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Maria.